I presented some new research for the Future TV Advertising Forum on the subject. Netflix as a service has gone from strength to strength. It's got nearly 70 million subscribers globally, and we're expecting them to reach 100 million over the next few years. And those subscribers are consuming an awful lot of video. So the average Netflix account watches 2 hours of video every day on average. And so what that means for a core market is Netflix consumption in aggregate in terms of billions of hours viewed is actually on par with some fairly significant broadcast channels. So if they moved into advertising, there's potentially a significant amount of inventory available for them to serve and sell to advertisers. And that inventory is typically available to consumers in pretty attractive demographics. So if we look at Netflix across Western Europe and North America, the majority of their users fall into the ABC One demographic, so it's substantially more than average for a population. They're wealthier, so they tend to over-index in higher income household brackets, and they're also younger, and that's an interesting combination for advertisers. You're hitting young, typically hard to reach consumers who are high spend, willing to spend on the advertiser's products. So again, not only do they have the consumption, they've got the demographics to match. So the question is, what could they do with regards to advertising? What sort of inventory could they put forward? So we explored a few scenarios. So the first being, what if they simply serve pre-rolls in front of some of their videos? The second being, what if they did a pre-roll and mid-roll scenario closer to a full broadcast ad load? And the third scenario, what if they kept the subscription model static without adverts, but actually introduced a free ad-funded tier? And these all have slightly different implications for Netflix and for the market in terms of how things have trended.
So how about the market first, in respect of advertisers? So that, as you said, that's an appealing demographic, a nice place to be. Do you think they would be happy about Netflix doing this?
I think so. Were Netflix to move into it, it has an audience that is pretty attractive. They're young, connected families, and what we've seen typically is that's the group that has been impacted most by changing TV viewing habits. They're increasingly difficult to reach through traditional broadcast channels. They're increasingly switching over to non-linear consumption formats. So Netflix, which has a huge stock of these individuals, is in a pretty good place to be positioning itself in front of advertisers.
And what would be the potential impact to Netflix if they did this, if they switched advertising on? You also looked at that? Yes,
so we looked at the aggregate potential revenue impact, so it's, again, through those scenarios. So the first scenario, if they introduced a pre-roll a solution, they could be looking at another, on current subscriber numbers and consumption volumes, they could be looking at another $270 million every quarter, and that is roughly half the size of their entire international business. So it's not going to change their business. It'll be about 15% growth if they added that, but it is a fairly substantial amount of money. The challenge, of course, with the pre-roll solution is that when they initiated pre-roll trailers for other content earlier in this year, there was an awful lot of protest from existing Netflix subscribers. So managing that churn would be very important, and we calculated that as little as 10% churn would actually wipe out those financial gains from introducing a pre-roll model. So of course, what they could do is then go one step further and start introducing more inventory. So if they introduced pre-rolls, mid-rolls and so on to full broadcast ad loads at about an $8 CPM, they could be making an additional $2 billion a quarter, assuming their subscriber numbers remain static. But obviously that comes with the added impact of increased churn on their customer base. Having said that, they could, even under that scenario, sustain losses of up to 50% of their subscriber base without having a net decline in revenue. So it's actually surprisingly attractive from them if they could hit the numbers that we used in our scenario.
But very much a double-edged sword, and it would significantly change the kind of business that Netflix is, because right now its USP is that it's premium SVOD and you don't get ads.
Exactly, yeah. So there is a real risk that they could stand to make an awful lot of money, but again they could also stand to annoy a lot of their customers. And if they miscalculate, they can't hit the CPMs that we've used in our models, or more customers move than we'd expect, then they could lose out as a consequence.
And those trailers that you mentioned, the pre-roll trailers for other shows, are we reading that as soft testing the notion of pre-roll ads?
So certainly it's a similar model, and enough people are fooled into thinking they are launching pre-rolls, so it may well have been a soft launch.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.